This is the Sports Porch, Philadelphia, with your hosts, the Grand Schwabini, Rube, and me, your technical director. Come on, Philly, show us a little Eagles, Flyers, Phillies, and Sixers love. The Philadelphia Sports Porch starts now. Yes, it does. The Philadelphia Sports Porch starts right now all over the world on Facebook, YouTube, and X. I am your technical director. We're going to be dropping the podcast right after the show, of course. You can listen on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. I am the technical director. As I said earlier, up above me is Rube with the Phillies gear on, coming to us from Austin, Texas, or ATX. I guess that's the airport out there, Rube.
That's ATX. What we call it. It's what the cool kids call Austin, Texas.
Okay. Yeah, we just say we're going down the airport. And the Grand Schwabini up to my left from the basement studios in Indiana Township, which he likes to call Fox Chapel because that's who he pays his school taxes to, and it makes him sound like he's rich. So welcome back.
Inappropriate.
I did not realize that I would be trying to roast you in this interview. Anyway, so what are we going to do? We're going to talk things Philadelphia sports, all things, of course, in pages, the way the Grand Schwabini likes to organize things. Page one, we're going to talk about the Phils. After last week, we had I don't want to say a heated, but a very active discussion about, who they may or may not add or what they need. Well, here they are back in first place. They did make a little history, so we have some things we're going to talk about there. Page two, the Sixers. The draft is Wednesday. What in the hell are they going to do? Page three, the Flyers made a trade. And page four, the Eagles, in case you haven't heard, have won the Super Bowl. So we're going to roll with that. For those of you living under a rock or on an island.
That made me feel better already.
Good. See, already off to a blazing start. Page five is going to be what we're watching. Now, Schwaber, you messed up the page numbers. I just want you to know that I corrected them. So we're good. You had us with 6 pages.
Well, we'll go back and we'll look at the tape. Okay.
Okay. We'll do that. So
you know what? He's a lot less edgy this week already, TD. I feel good that the Grand Schwabini is going to be back in form and giving hot takes, but hot takes with a diplomatic voice and tenor.
I don't find that to be entertaining at all. I think he needs the edge.
Okay,
so, we'll try to bring it out in him.
I think we can do it. All right, fair enough.
I'll watch you react. Okay, please remember, follow us on YouTube at Philadelphia Sports Porch and on X at Philly Porch. Page one, the Phillies are back in first place. They're actually a game and a half up on the Mets right now.
So how about that?
8-2 in their last 10, right?
The Phillies went on that. The Phillies went on that little slide. Then they got hot again, and the Mets had basically in 8 days, the Mets went from being 5.5 up on the Phils to 1.5 down on the Phils.
Right.
Because they basically lost. They've won only one game, I think, in their last 9 or 10.
I think they've lost 5 in a row.
Yeah.
No, they've lost 2 in a row. My fault.
No, they beat the Phils. Well, they beat Mick Abel. So we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Right.
But as I was sitting and watching that game, I was telling Schwabi that I am going away this weekend and had an amazing concert experience. We can talk about that later. But before said concert, we were watching the game, and I don't think I'd ever seen a game where the game was like 5-4, and all of their 5 runs, the Mets were on home runs. And I don't think I'd ever seen back-to-back home runs. And I was thinking to myself, we are single-handedly allowing the Mets to get out of their slump. Soto looked like a $500 million guy. Lindor looked good. They all look good for that one game. But besides that, the Phillies were impressive. It's been a roller coaster ride this year, as we talked about last week, and even week to week. But it'll be interesting to see how they fare with the Astros, the Braves, the Padres, and the Reds coming at us. Real competition should really test us.
So the Mets weren't real competition?
Well, based on the way that they were playing, probably not. Probably we caught them at a good time. Listen, they've had our number. They've had our number this
Right,
year and into
right.
last year. So, I think
What are
I
you
think
talking about though? You've never seen back-to-back-to-back home runs?
I've never seen it like watching a game. I've never seen 3 home runs in a row.
I've seen back-to-back-to-back home runs in person.
Really?
Let me put it to you this. I will give one of you guys $100 if you can name the 3 Phillies. I'll give you a time period. Okay. It's in the 80s. The 3 Phillies that hit back-to-back-to-back home runs. One of them is a no-brainer, right? Okay. And you got to name the other 2, but you got to do it. You got to get them right away. You can't, no second chances.
Okay. You want to go first? You want me to go first, TD?
You go first.
Okay. I will go Schmidt, Luzinski, Gary Maddox.
Incorrect.
I will go Schmidt, Rose, and Juan Samuel.
Incorrect.
Okay, who was it?
You are both right with Schmidt. He was the 3rd leg of the back-to-back-to-back.
Okay. Oh, well, so all right, with that as a hint, can I take another guess?
I'll give you one more shot.
That was easy, that part of it.
Yeah, one more shot.
I'm going to say, so he usually batted 4th. Manny Trio was usually like 2nd or 3rd. So Manny Trio, I think, was in there. And let's go with
Len Matusik.
Let's go with who was our catcher back then? Bob Boone.
Incorrect.
Okay.
That would be batting 2nd, Milt Thompson.
Milt.
And batting 3rd at the time, Von Hayes.
Oh yeah, I was going to guess Von Hayes.
That Von Hayes.
I could see him, but I couldn't remember his name.
So that was more 80s than 70s. Okay, got it.
Oh, he said 80s.
You said 80s, yeah.
80s, yeah.
Okay,
he did say 80s.
That's right. But
hey,
getting back,
that's fantastic. Thanks, Mark.
Getting back to the present day Phils. Yeah, I mean they're playing really good ball. I like what Otto Kemp has given them as another bat that can do something in the lineup. I think that they've kind of adjusted to playing without Harper in the lineup, which I think is important.
Mm-hmm.
And really, what was really impressive, if you watch the first game against the Mets, they really used all the fields. In that first game where it was relatively close, it was like 4-3, and they went on to win like 10-4. I mean, it was just like hitting the ball into open spaces, like Bohm hitting the ball between first and second base with nobody there, opposite field, between shortstop and third base, just using all the fields and not relying on the home run, just playing some really good baseball. The pitching's obviously been really good. Wheeler, he used a lot of pitches, but he gave you 5 scoreless innings. Luzardo has been really strong after that 2-game clip where he just got destroyed.
They said his ERA over 5 games was over 10.
Yeah.
And I think those 2 big games hurt him.
But since then, 3 out of 4 games, he's been very, very good. So one of my questions was, do you think that Luzardo is back?
It's tough to say he's back after what I would call a couple good starts. The game I think the start before this last one wasn't terrific. But listen, the Mets can hit the ball, and they proved that, and he was pretty dominating on Sunday. So give me a couple more games, and I'll tell you he's back. But I'll tell you who I do think is back. It's that guy that you were talking about who couldn't swing that big, heavy bat. Bryson Stott looked really good over the past week. Had a homer, had that big double. Do we have that on video? Do we have the Bryson Stott?
Let's show the slide.
Yeah.
I don't. Do we have a slide?
Yes. It's the only Phillies video.
Oh, you mean the video?
Yes.
Oh, good
Mhm.
Lord. My fault. That's the
That's the end of the play.
yeah, that's the end. That's what
Yeah,
we
so that
you
was
guys
on
kind of went
Bryson.
you guys kind of went off script because I thought we were doing the Phillies make history first.
You're
So
not paying attention.
you
Just
caught
admit
me
it.
sleeping. There you go.
Fly ball, left center field, pretty deep. Taylor's back at the wall. It's off the wall. One run is in. You have two more guys running side by side almost. A threat of the plate, and they're both safe.
Did Castellanos touch the base?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think if you're the catcher, you're really upset with yourself. I mean,
So
really upset.
so you do realize now. I have to say I believe this only became a record after this play happened. because
Phillies
there's
make
no
history.
way
We're gonna
there's no
score
way
here.
anybody's tracking this. They make history with 2 runners scoring within 1 second. Somehow I don't think there's a record book somewhere that says these two guys scored within 2.5 seconds in 1987.
Uh,
Did you agree?
I have
I
no idea.
I bet baseball. The thing with baseball stats is there is a stat and a record for everything. I would bet that there's got to be. I would bet there is a stat somewhere like that. I haven't seen it. I don't know where to find it, but I bet we could Google it.
So the question is Castellanos really that slow, or is JT really that fast?
I don't think it's either one. I think it's where the ball was hit. Castellanos knew he could cruise in, and then I also think where it was hit, JT knew he had to get on his horse. So my guess is that it's probably all of the above. Real Muto can run, and that was really cool. I haven't seen anything like that since Major League, the movie, when they both
Yeah.
scored at the same time. You guys remember that?
Yeah. They have some clips out showing you the major league versus them
Oh,
doing it.
really?
It's like the same exact thing. I also love the way that the ump went safe twice.
Well, he had
Yeah.
to.
Right.
Now he is on record as the fastest time between 2 safe calls ever in the history of Major League Baseball.
Now they also did say apparently, I think like in the 90s there was a play where somebody against the Boston Red Sox almost did the same exact thing, but both runners were out.
That's sad. What do you speaking of Casty being nasty, was there anything said about what he said to Topper that made Topper pull him out of the lineup? And were you okay with him pulling him out of the lineup, or were you disappointed that his streak was over?
Well, no, nobody knows what was said. So I have to imagine he really either showed up Topper or said something incredibly disrespectful for him to take him out of the game the next day and stop his streak. For those who don't know, I think he had like the second longest streak of consecutive games. A real life Cal Ripken.
Yeah. It takes a lot. It takes a lot.
An Iron Man.
Right. So but here's the thing. This is what I'll say. Apparently, the reason was Cassidy's been on the team for like 3 years now.
Feels like that 3-4 years.
And they've never taken him out for a defensive replacement. And so Topper took him out for a defensive replacement, I think to put Rojas out there like in a late inning. And Cassidy took exception to it. Now, here's the thing. First of all, I think he's right because look, this is another analytics idiocy. Okay, first of all, Castellanos does not have an error this year. Okay, he has 0 errors. All right. I don't know about you, Rube, but I always find that Casty always seems to make diving catches and always
And
seems to make
especially big moments.
right, especially in big moments, right?
Yeah.
And basically, like, the analytics is telling them that there are balls that because of his lack of speed, he's not getting to. So we need a defensive replacement in there. Like, that's just stupid. Just stop it already.
There's
And we
gotta
need
be
his, and if a game goes to extra innings, we need his bat in there.
Yeah, my guess,
know?
I don't know, maybe something happened before that made him take him out, because if we've never taken Casty out, what would have made Topper take him out due to analytics in this particular game at this particular time of the season? My bet is that Topper was trying to make a point, perhaps because Casty may have said something earlier in the game, and this was just the final straw that broke the camel's back. Otherwise, why would they have taken him out? They've never done it before, and it was against the Marlins. So something doesn't sound right to me.
I don't know. I just think that they overthink this crap, Like, I think they sit around and they try to think about ways that they can make the team better. And, some analytics nerd in a meeting just said, "Hey, you realize he doesn't have any errors, but he's getting to like 25% fewer balls than the other left fielders." And they're like, and then probably Topper's just like, all right, well, maybe we should consider that. It's a good way to get Rojas in the game and get him some time. And, I don't know. I could be wrong. You could be right. But either way, I don't know. TD, do you have any comments?
No, not really. I mean,
No?
I mean, there's always the human element to this game. They, just because he was pulled out for a defensive placement. I mean, I don't really buy your analytics argument in this case. I'm with you on analytics in general.
Well, no, they said that that's what it was about.
Oh, they actually said that.
Yeah, they said that.
Well, that sounds like an excuse to me.
They said that's the reason. And actually,
that sounds like a good excuse to me.
Well, no. And the way that they followed it up is apparently Castellanos was pissed off about it, but when he cooled down, he basically said, like, all right, what I want to do is I want to go over every game after the game, and you tell me what you think I could have done better or not.
Yeah, I mean, that's all cool.
Interesting. Yeah.
I like that a lot. Listen, and he's been playing great since then. So
yeah, he has
even if it's maybe a little bit of a fire under his ass, who knows? But sounds like it was the right button to push. Hey, one more thing in the Phillies before we go on.
Well, we got another thing on the Phillies too, anyway. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. Edmundo Sosa. Were you more pissed that he got picked off at second base, or were you more happy that he hit a big home run and did that erase the getting picked off at second base? What do you say, Schwabini?
Well, I mean, I'm more excited about the 3-for-3 and the home run.
And they're getting picked off at second base as the lead runner.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean,
come on.
The Phillies are pretty aggressive on the base paths, and they do get picked off a pretty fair amount. I hate to say it, but it's almost at the point where I've kind of gotten used to it. I kind of have. But no, I mean, it sucks when they do stuff like that. But really, I was just happy to see Sosa, drive the ball. See, the problem with Sosa is, somebody gets hurt and then he plays for like a month and he plays great. And then everybody's just like, well, why do we even need them? Just play Sosa. But then, the more Sosa plays, the more he comes back down to earth. And, you realize he's just really like a 260, 270 hitter.
Yeah.
So I was just happy that he had a good game.
Okay, fair enough. All right, TD.
All right, last question here. Is the league catching up to McAble?
I'll let you go first on this one, Mark.
Well, I would say yes. It doesn't mean that McAble's not going to be very good. But, the league is adjusting to him, and now he's going to have to adjust back. Look, the Mets, they're playing terrible baseball right now, but they've got a hell of a lineup. And the guys that hit moonshots off of him are no slouches at all. And actually, like, it almost seemed like every single one of them that hit the home run, like they were like down in the count like 0-2, and then they worked it back to 3-2, and then they hit a home run.
And they were all different home runs, right?
Right.
Sosa's was
Right.
like a line drive, topped it. The other guy was golfed it.
Mhm.
And I forget who was between Lindor and Sosa, but or Soto. It's not Soto. Soto.
Yeah. But the only thing that I wanted to bring up about it, though, is this is why you can't just rely on waiting to the trade deadline. Seriously, because
Yeah.
Mick Abel had a lot more trade value before that Mets game than he does now.
Do you think so? Do you think if a team was just like, well, after that game, I'll give you a second round pick instead of a first round pick? Do you think it swung it that much?
Well, I think it swings it to the point where, okay, so look, so basically what that Mets game did was that took him from like a 2.3 ERA to like a 3.5 ERA, right? Let's say he now has another game like that. Okay. Now his ERA is a little, in the 4.2 range, right? Now you look at him and you're like, okay, well, this guy's obviously got some good stuff. He came on and, he pitched really well in his first 4 games, but the league's catching up to him. But we think he has a future. That's then what the narrative is now. The narrative before the Mets game was, oh, we might have a top end of the rotation guy here.
Well, I really don't think that baseball jumps that quickly. I think if you're a GM, I think you're thinking more along the lines of, look at what this guy is doing in Philadelphia. He wasn't completely on anybody's radar. Wow, that's impressive. Let's give him a little more time.
Well,
if I'm a GM, I'm not even thinking about, you guys, we were talking, this is what we were kind of talking about last week.
Mm-hmm.
We could say, we speculate on, could the Phillies trade this guy? Could he trade Mick Abel? Some other teams got to really want him bad. And there's a lot of other pitchers out there with a lot more tape where they have a more definitive answer that I think they're going to look over before they look at a guy like Mick Abel, just because his body of work is so small. That's all.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that, I'm not talking about a team that is trying to add starting pitching to help them make a playoff run. I'm talking about the team that's rebuilding and is going to give up, a playoff type piece, in exchange for 3 prospects.
That's right.
And Mick Abel has to be one of those prospects. And I think, we didn't capitalize on him at his peak. That's all I'm saying.
I understand the argument you're making. I think I agree with the TD on this one. I don't know if baseball is that fickle. I think before all this, we could probably agree he's a 3, maybe a 2, but not your top, not a number 1. And I think what we saw from him in the game against the Mets is kind of mental. It was almost like a more of a mental thing than a physical thing. To your point, he had the counts. He was doing well. He just kept making the wrong pitch to the wrong player at the wrong time. So I think it'll come down to like consistency, mental fortitude, and just really understanding how to pitch pitchers. And there's book on him now. So 3 good hitters made 3 good swings. So yeah, give him credit and move on. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay, last thing here. When will Bryce Harper return?
I think he's supposed to return. I thought he was supposed to return for this Astros series. Do you know?
I don't know. I saw him taking ground balls the other day, kind of gingerly throwing the ball in a bucket. So
I saw that too.
It didn't look good to me, but what's the rush? We've been playing decent ball without him. Let's let the wrist heal. Give it another week. Again, we talked earlier, Astros, Braves, and Padres. Maybe come back for the Braves or the Padres.
Well,
As of 7 minutes ago.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
It does not sound like Bryce Harper will be activated in Houston, but he went through his full pregame routine Tuesday, swinging more than he has been swinging, and he looks to return in the next series or two.
Okay, well, there we go. It's a good time.
We break it to you live on the porch.
There you have it. Yes, if you're watching us on YouTube or you're watching us on X, you can follow us there. We would love that. YouTube at Philadelphia Sports Porch and X at Philly Porch. Thanks to everybody on X who's watching right now. I almost said Monday. We just changed times every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. That's 6 p.m. Austin time, right? ATX.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
So page 2.
Ready for some.
All right.
Please don't ever do that again.
Yeah, I know. I'm thoroughly confused, but that's
well,
okay.
It's the NBA.
If we had a technical director that could, put some effort into this, maybe we would have had that NBA song leading up to this. All right, everybody. It's time for the NBA draft. Sixers are picking third. Now, for those of you who haven't been paying attention, apparently Ace Bailey doesn't want to play really for anybody except a horrible team. So basically, Ace Bailey has decided not only to not work out with the Sixers, but to not work out with anybody. And apparently, he is more concerned about his path to stardom, which means playing on a team that doesn't have very good players, so he can get the bulk of playing time and score the most points. So with that in mind, Rube, are you out on Ace Bailey?
Here's what I'm going to tell you. I have not watched a single highlight of any of these guys who are coming into the draft.
Well, there goes the show.
Until today. No, until today.
Okay.
Because I was anticipating this question. And so I watched the Edgecombe highlights at Baylor, and then I watched the Ace Bailey highlights. And I was really hoping that I would come out of that highlight watching experience thinking, you know what, Edgecombe's probably the right guy. This Bailey guy looks pretty good. 6'10", can throw it down. Shot selection is wonky, but seems to make a lot of the shots he takes. Long, athletic, strong, seems to have an NBA-ready game. And I'm a little disappointed that we're probably not going to pick him because of this nonsense.
Kind of looks like Scottie Pippen a little bit on tape.
Doesn't he? Yeah. He looks good, but goodness gracious, do we need a head case? That worries me. But listen, I think Bailey looks like the better prospect over the two, and probably a better fit. Do we need Edgecombe? Do we need another guy, another shooting guard or off guard?
I will tell you this though. There I can't remember who it was, but one guy on ESPN who I really like. It might have been like Jay Billis or somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that Edgecombe reminds them of a young Dwayne Wade. And when I heard that, I started feeling a little bit better about him. So I don't know.
When I watch him, he looks like a good basketball player. He doesn't look like someone you build your team around. Bailey could be a risky pick, but at this point, what do we have to lose?
Now, would you trade up to number 2 for Dylan Harper?
When I watch his highlights, the answer is 100% yes.
Okay, now,
but I don't think that's going to happen.
Apparently, the Spurs want a haul for him, and I don't know all the specifics, but I do know, at least in talks with the Sixers, they wanted McCain as part of the package. So are you parting with McCain to go up and get Dylan Harper?
It's hard to say. We didn't see enough of McCain to say whether he's expendable or not. I don't even know if they're the same type of player.
Well,
But
they're totally different type player.
yeah,
Basic. I mean, the thing about McCain is basically Maxey. It's like they're the same player. They're just both very good. But obviously, you go with Maxey over McCain at this point.
right.
So, but we're also not a team that can afford to lose good players. We want to build with players, not lose. And I guess the question will be, do you think that they'll make any sort of trade?
Look, we talked about this last week a little bit, and I said if you trade down and you can get more picks or get a still high pick and a player that can fit in on the front court, I think you do it. I don't think any of these guys beyond Harper are game changers. They're nice players, but I don't see a Michael Jordan at number 3. So I would trade down, try to get a player, pick up a player that you put in, assuming that Embiid and George can turn it around next year and actually play and be healthy and make a run. If not, I don't feel like you've really lost anything.
Okay. Now, Rube, let's just do a little bit of a tell me what you thought of the end of the NBA Finals.
The last game or just in general?
You roll with it. You take the lead.
Listen, I actually, as someone who has been vehemently anti-NBA, I said this a few weeks ago. I actually really liked the opportunity to see 2 teams who play hard, who are up and coming, who are well coached, and they played a really good series. I thought there was some really compelling basketball played. I was disappointed that Halliburton went down because it looked like Indiana was in the game in the first half.
Yeah, it feels like we got cheated a little bit.
Yeah. But listen, Oklahoma City, they're really good. Their coach is really good. Their GM is like the Howie Roseman of the NBA. And I think they're showing that if you can just draft well and put pieces around it, that anyone could win. So I was excited. I actually enjoyed it. I haven't really enjoyed watching an NBA Finals in years because I'm tired of seeing the same teams year after year after year, hearing the same story and kind of thinking, well, you got to spend all this money, get the 3 big players, and then you're in it. This was just the opposite. I thought they both played hard. I thought they were well matched, and I think they're both exciting teams for the future. So I'd give it a B plus.
Yeah, I was, I was really rooting for the Pacers just because I kind of like their team. I really liked Tyrese Halliburton, and actually watching Game 6, the second half of Game 6, I felt might have been like the best basketball I've seen in a long time. Just the way the Pacers were playing. And it was so exciting. Then, of course, in Game 7, Halliburton comes out, hits a couple quick threes, and you're like, okay, here we go. This could be an all-time classic. And then he goes down, and even though they hung in there till halftime, you knew it was over at that point. You just knew it was over.
They were up at half. They were actually up at halftime, but
yeah,
Oklahoma City's a good team.
But here's what I will say though, like and I hate to be all negative because look, Oklahoma City's a really good team, but I mean, like, is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander the worst MVP of all time?
You mean of the league or of the finals?
Of the league. I mean, think about who the MVP. Think about who the MVP. Think about who the MVPs are. Well, that's what it is. He doesn't he's got the best stats on the best team in the league, right? Yeah. That's what he is. But when he's out there, even if he has 30 points and it's the most points on his team who's winning the game, I never feel like he's dominating the game. Never.
That's the beauty of it. Before he scores so easily and so smoothly and plays such a good court game that he doesn't have to have the dynamic slams and whatever. He's a really good player. He's really efficient. He runs the point. I think he's exactly what this league needs, is somebody else to be an MVP. And I think, like you said, he was the best player on the best team in basketball this year.
Yeah, well, and look, I'll give him that, and then I will give to him that he seems like he's a good person.
You think it's just boring because it's not like someone with a big name?
Well, I mean, look, it's just, to me, I still feel like there is a different level of basketball. I mean, like, he's not LeBron James, he's not Michael Jordan, he's not Allen Iverson, he's not Charles Barkley, he's not.
Is he Steve Nash?
He's not Kevin Durant. He might be Steve Nash.
They weren't they weren't MVPs every single year, all those names. I mean, there are other people in there.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, he's not like a top 20 basketball player of all time, at least in my opinion. Now, maybe if he does what he does for years and years, but it's not the same. But we're not watching Kobe. It's like,
just because he won the MVP doesn't enshrine him as a top 20 basketball player of all time.
I mean, even more recently, like MVPs like Jokic is obvious. Even Embiid was obvious. Giannis is obvious.
Maybe you just don't watch enough OKC.
No, I do. I've actually watched a lot of OKC, and to be honest, I'm still shocked that they won 68 games and made it all the way through. It kind of makes me feel like the league is, well, maybe the league has become more parity, but my God, it's like, I was listening to some Sixers draft talk this morning, right? And they were saying exactly what I was saying like a couple weeks ago on our show. It's not unconceivable to be in the mix next year. I mean, these teams are not that special. I mean, are they a lot better? Well, I mean, look, these teams, like, barely anybody gets hurt. They're all young, but like, the bottom line is, like, I mean, as much as it's crazy to say, I mean, there's barely more talent on these teams than on the Sixers, and the Sixers only won 24 games or something like that. And
so by the way, you're comparing a team that won 85 games, including the playoffs, to the Sixers.
Well, interestingly enough, this Oklahoma City team 3 years ago won 24 games.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
Okay,
so go ahead, Chris. Yeah.
That being said, maybe it's time to go to page 3. Because I feel like we can debate this until midnight, and honestly, I'm in control, and I'm getting tired of it. So
you have a great attitude tonight, by the way.
Yeah, what is with you? Did Schwabini rub off on you or something? What's going on?
Yeah, see, the origin is here. The correct question has been asked up here.
Do we need an intervention?
Rube, everybody that's known me closely for the last 20 years knows an intervention will not help anything. Okay, the Flyers trade for Zegras. Anyway,
Okay, so Trevor Zegras coming to the Flyers, going back, Ryan Poehling, a nice kind of bottom 6 player, good penalty killer, gives you some goals from the bottom 6. Pick number 45 and a 4th round in 2026. Look, this guy was the 9th pick in the draft in 2019. Got off to a great start when he was like 21 years old. He had 2 60-point seasons in a row. Then the last 2 seasons have been injury plagued, and he hasn't played nearly as well and hasn't played as many games. He certainly has highlight level skill. Let's show that pic of him scoring between his legs. The video.
Tries to play, he does. And he gets it back to Fowler, and now the Ducks will break out. Harrington, Strome, sauces to Zegras between the legs. Oh my goodness, he's done it again. Through his legs, top shelf, and it's
Dick, you'll
2-1.
see it again here.
I'm telling you, the games that you do, he comes up with something like this. Great neutral zone transition, and then, you know what, he splits the D. Interesting decision. You got two Seattle defensemen there standing watching. Neither of them takes him. You got Trevor Zegras, one of the most skilled young players in the league, able to do this, pull the puck between his legs.
That was pretty sweet.
Can you imagine him and Michkov on the same line? Holy cow. Is he a center?
I got to tell you.
Yeah, he's a center.
I got to tell you, of all the hockey I've watched, which compared to you guys is very, very little, but I've watched it here and there and some in the playoffs and stuff like that. And of all the great moments that I've witnessed, that one right there, that play right there is for this hockey novice, that's probably one of the best plays I've ever seen.
That was incredible. That was incredible.
Yeah. And the key word that I took. Now, I know that doesn't mean he's the next coming of Wayne Gretzky. I know that. I get that. But still, I mean, that takes some serious talent and skill. And what I thought was amazing is he does it again, is what the announcer says. Like, this is kind of like a move that he makes.
Yeah,
you know?
he does. He has a lot of highlight reel type
Yeah.
moves. So, look, I mean, I think it's a great deal. I mean, look, it's a high upside, kind of like low risk, you know. Look, I mean, if he comes in and gets injured and it's like 3 years in a row that he's injured, then, you know, okay, so maybe it's not going to work out for him.
Last year of his contract, right? It's prove it year.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a prove it year. He could come in, you know, play on a top line with Michkov and Konechny, and he could light it up. So definitely, you know, and they didn't have to part with any first round picks for him.
Yeah,
which was nice.
And it's the beauty of what Briere's been doing, which is stockpiling picks and doing this thing the right way. So we had finally had something to give to get what could be a potential very good player for us. I just hope, you know, for his sake and our sake, that he can stay healthy. Do we know what the injuries were? I just saw that it was injury plagued, but is it like knee or like back or something like that?
I don't remember what they were, but I did see Danny Briere give a press conference, and they said their medical team, he's 100% healthy. Like, there's no lingering issue. You know how it is in hockey, upper body injury.
Lower body injury. Exactly. What did have you guys spoke to HJ? Does he have an opinion on it?
Well, I think HJ was a little bit scorned by this. You know, he's like, "Oh, I don't like the idea of the Flyers getting a guy who can really play." So he was like, he just gets injured all the time."
There's nothing like an HJ scorned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say more like LDS. That's you know,
what is that?
Lemieux derangement syndrome.
Lemieux derangement syndrome. Yes. Yes. So yeah, and the draft is coming up. So you know, I hope they make another move or two. I'd really like to see them get a goaltender that could you know, shore things up. Apparently, there's a guy. I think his name is Jake Allen of the Devils. Is a pretty solid guy. So he's somebody they could look at. But I just like to get somebody to tandem with Urson. I think if you take the two, Urson and another guy, where maybe Urson's kind of like the second fiddle to him, I think you might get a better result.
Yeah, I think ultimately we're going to need a goalie. Yeah, it's like not having a quarterback in football. You have to have a goalie. It's one of the most important positions on the ice, if not the most important. And I mean, it just, you know, speaking of hockey, listen, I think we talked about, you know, kind of kiddingly or not, about Florida winning back-to-back, and it's Florida and nobody cares. But man, how painful is it to watch Bobrovsky win 2 in a row? and yet another stupid move by the Flyers getting rid of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really stupid. Years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so long ago.
I know, but need a goalie. We have to have a goalie, so we'll see.
Hey, it happens. You know, the Orioles had Pete Harnisch and Kurt Schilling in their rotation, and then they let him. How
exactly would you equate the Orioles to a hockey conversation?
Well, you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And I got my dig in.
At least he didn't bring
up.
up. At least he didn't bring up like a pirate or something stupid like that.
Well, yeah, true. I did bring up Mario Lemieux. So
you did. We did
yeah.
get a Pittsburgh.
It's like this ongoing battle between Philly and Pittsburgh. Who's more relevant? You know. Did you guys want to talk about the draft, or were we going over that with the goalie talk?
Yeah, we can kind of go over that afterwards. We'll talk about who they got.
Okay.
So later.
That sounds good.
Yeah, later.
Yeah. All right. So in case any of you out there in live stream land are unaware of this, it's something that we like to bring up every week now, because just because last year's NFL season was over doesn't mean that the celebrating should stop. And
No.
we kind of lost a little of that joy, I think, around here. So every week, you don't have to remember, because we're going to remember for you. Did you know that the Eagles, they won the Super Bowl?
They did.
They are the world champions. They're the world champions until the final second of the final game of this upcoming season, which is the Super Bowl. And if I'm thinking about it, they're going to win it again.
Yeah.
That's just
and
me.
let's celebrate one of the members of that team.
Okay,
Devontae Smith.
Yeah, let's celebrate.
Did you know, according to Pro Football Focus, Devontae Smith is the highest graded wide receiver on crossing routes?
Interesting, considering we
Excellent.
never run crossing routes, but once every 3 weeks.
Well, and they're always to him.
Yeah. He does have the best nickname in football. I have to say, I love it.
Slim Reaper.
Slim Reaper.
That is wonderful. It really is.
No, but if you really think about it, it is kind of amazing that on this team, Devontae Smith kind of goes under the radar. Because, obviously you got Saquon, and then you got AJ Brown. I mean, AJ Brown, I think Pro Football Focus rated AJ Brown the #1 wide receiver in all of football. So yeah, I mean, when AJ is getting more balls and more touchdowns than you're gonna be, on the short end of the stick in terms of the love. But he did get the dagger.
He did get the dagger.
Yeah. And he's pretty damn good. I mean,
and given how slim he is, it's amazing to me that he plays every game. I mean, he's rarely out of the game. I see a comment out there, but I'm not sure I'm following.
I'm not following it either.
This might be
maybe an NHL. Yeah.
Oh, Bayern Munich. I was thinking like Bayern Munich. Like, why are we talking soccer? But that must be a.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
Ben Scharf. Ben Scharf. We'll keep our eyes peeled.
Yeah.
Hey Danny, what position does he play?
Yeah.
Let us know.
Okay, so the Eagles did win the Super Bowl. We're still happy about that. We're still celebrating.
Yes.
And I mean, Devontae Smith is pretty good. I think that, look, the Eagles, the only difference I feel right now between, say, the Eagles and the Phillies is a championship. Do you know what I mean? I think the Phillies have assembled a pretty good team. They do have some needs. We've talked about the pitching, maybe another hitter. The Eagles, every time they seem to have a need, they seem to be able to fill it with somebody who steps it up. So,
Oh, Danny's talking NBA draft. He's talking European basketball.
Yeah. Okay.
He's 6'8" with a high basketball IQ.
There you go.
Is he anywhere in the mock drafts?
I have no idea.
What do you think? This is European basketball. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. So Danny wants to know what we're thinking.
Yeah, gotcha.
I don't know what I'm thinking. Danny, I usually don't know what I'm thinking. So, I do appreciate the question. And Mark and, the Grand Schwabini and Rube will try to figure out what they're thinking. Maybe.
All right. So what's
move forward?
I think it's time for what we're watching.
Mark, what is that? Can you explain it to the audience?
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Looks like we have a great crowd on hand. on the Philly porch on X. We got, a total of 42 people watching us right now. We appreciate that. We know that you have a lot of choices out there, and thank you for flying our airlines.
I was just thinking about
that. So what we're watching? Well, it's very important. This is the part of the show where we give back to you, to our loyal fans, our listeners, our family. We know how hard it is to find a show. There's so many options. You got Hulu, you got Prime, you got Max, you got Netflix. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. You got Peacock, you got, it just keeps going, right? You don't know what to watch. Well, we take care of that for you. We watch shows. We watch them beginning to end, and we will tell you if it's good or not good. So next time you're sitting there with your loved ones or your friends, and somebody says, "Hey, what should we watch?" You say, "Hey, guys at the sports porch said 2 thumbs up for this one. It's a lock. It's a lock."
Or what not to watch.
Or what not to watch.
Yes.
Somebody says, "Hey, should we watch Driving Miss Daisy?" No, sports porch said no. No.
But Morgan Freeman was actually good in that.
That was a very good one. Yeah,
it was a good movie, but let's move on.
All right, Rube, you are watching.
I am watching Welcome to Wrexham, and one of the rules that we have for what you're watching is you have to make it through an entire season. So I will not speak about the current season, which is season 4, which is also very good so far. But I wanted to introduce everyone to the show if you haven't seen it yet. Essentially, 2 Hollywood stars, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. I think everybody knows who Ryan Reynolds is. Rob McElhenney, a Philly guy, by the way.
Always Sunny in Philadelphia fame.
And Always Sunny in Philadelphia fame. Essentially, go out and purchase a European football team in the town of Wrexham. They happen to be from Wales, and it kind of is like a real life Ted Lasso feel good story. It's interesting to see how they go about hiring the people to go and run the team. They clearly have plenty of money to go spend. I think, as Rob McElhenney said in one of the shows, "Listen, I've got TV money. We needed movie star money to make this happen." No, check that. We didn't need movie star money. We needed Marvel money to go make this happen. And the long and the short of it is, it tells the story about them taking over this town or taking over this team. And it's as much about giving back to this town, which has been down on its luck for many, many years. I kind of see it as kind of like one of those old, I don't like an old coal mining town or steel town. It was a very blue collar.
It's a struggling town.
And essentially part of their mission and their vision was not just to make the team successful, but to kind of bring the town back. And so really, really good story. Even if you don't like soccer or football, as they say over there, the story is really cool. So go check it out. 2 thumbs up from Rube.
And I'll give it a thumbs up as well. I watched 1 season. We just haven't gotten back to it for some reason. It's bad on us, but first season was excellent. So I'll have to check out the rest.
All right.
Do you want to get that, or should we keep
going? You got a client calling, Schwabi?
Sort of.
Did you just hang up?
Was that Amy May, or who was that?
I know who it is. I can get to them later.
It looked like he picked up the phone and set it back down, didn't it?
I did. Look, I don't want to talk trash with Colorado right now. Okay. But
by the way, who has a phone anymore like that? Anyway, I digress.
Seriously, I don't have one in my house.
Okay.
All right. The Grand Schwabini.
So the Grand Schwabini saw a movie this weekend. He saw 28 years later. And
Which
is about how old that phone on your desk is.
It's
is that touch tone or
this phone?
Can you still Can you
It's
still?
about
Go
it's
ahead.
about 10 it's about 10 years old.
At least. Yeah.
You know what? It does the job.
Yeah.
You know,
Can
it
you
does
still
the
hit
job.
star 69
I
to
don't
hear
know.
the
I don't know.
number that? No, you don't know.
No, well, I got buttons I can push, and it shows me like caller ID. You know.
Yeah.
All right, get to your movie. Get to your
You have
movie.
call
All right.
waiting. Click, click.
So-
call waiting. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, stop making fun of yourself.
Okay.
28 years later. So this is number 3 in the series. I know, Chris, you haven't watched it. Rube, have you
No.
watched any of them?
I have not. No,
Okay. I don't think you don't strike me as a zombie guy, are you, Rube?
I'm not a zombie guy. I'm not a sci-fi or zombie guy.
Okay, so you haven't watched The Walking
You don't know
Dead.
what you're missing.
No, I know you guys told me about that before, and I
Mhm.
will take a chance. I will at some point take a chance.
Okay. All right. So this is I mean, look, they don't really call them zombies, but it's basically the same thing. It's been taken over by a rage virus, and so different things happen in different parts of the world, and this is kind of the story of
Oh boy.
all right,
You sure you don't want to get that?
No, because I don't feel like working right now.
Okay.
Mark, it's
Um,
it's 1992. They want their phone back.
We didn't even have. We built our house 10 years ago. I didn't even have it wired for phones. I had it wired for the internet, but not for
This could
phones.
draw the most watchers of any of this.
Seriously.
so anyway, it's interesting. We're not losing anybody during this
course not.
phone
Of course not.
interruption. I think
They want you to answer the damn phone. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so what this movie is about, it's about kind of like a small town. I think it's like Scotland, Wales kind of area. And this group of people, let's say it's maybe like 100, 150 people in the town, they're able to escape off of the mainland to live on this island. And so they live on the island away from all the folks with the virus, and they're kind of like living back in time. Like, they don't have iPhones anymore and any of that kind of stuff. They're just sort of living like, the
Do they have a
old
rotary? Do they have
style.
a rotary phone like you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think there's any phones at all.
Okay.
And
So
very,
you would
very
be-
interesting.
You would be advanced then.
Yes.
compared
Yes.
to that.
So essentially what we're dealing with here is, well, look, it's obviously it's a very successful series. You don't get to the third one unless people are watching. They got Ralph Fiennes in this one to play a pretty big role. And I thought he was excellent in it. He's kind of like he plays a guy who was like a doctor before this all started, and now there's no hospitals anymore and that kind of stuff, and it's a story of kind of like this kid who goes out there like at 12 years old to what you do is you leave the island to go into the mainland to do things like shoot deer so they can have meat to bring back and stuff like that. And he goes out there, and of course all hell breaks loose when he's out there. His mom's sick, and he brings his mom to the mainland to see the doctor, who's Ralph Fiennes. And it was a really good story. It was really well done. It's directed by, you got to be kidding me, man. It's the same person. She just left me a message. So
I kind of feel like it kind of feels like an emergency.
So anyway,
Don't you think you should check and make sure nothing really bad has happened?
I'm sure nothing bad's happened.
But that person doesn't seem like it. Anyway, all right, let's go.
Yeah,
This is the longest movie review of all time.
Yeah. So anyway, it's really good.
By old technology.
It's really good if you like the zombie stuff. Also, too, Cillian Murphy, the star of Peaky Blinders.
Oh, I love him.
He directed it. So it's going to be good if he's involved in some way, shape, or form. He actually makes a little cameo in the movie as a zombie, and it was kind of funny. I did not know that he had directed the film, and I'm looking at this zombie in this during the movie, and I'm like, that looks exactly like Cillian Murphy.
That's Thomas Shelby.
I'm like, that's exactly him. I'm like, that's exactly him. And then right after it ended, like directed by Cillian Murphy. I'm like, yeah. Gave himself a cameo.
Hey,
put me on the Peaky Blinders.
Oh, hey, all right, so we got to watch out for that one. Is it it in the movie theater or is it like Netflix or something like that?
It's in the movie theater. Okay. I think the first, this one's 28 years later. The second one is 28 days later. I think the first one is just maybe 28 days.
And 28 minutes later, we have finally finished this review.
Yes, we have.
I do. Before we sign off, I wanted to give a shout out and a recommendation for some good music out there to our fans who are watching. I went and saw Tash Sultana at Red Rocks this weekend, and let me tell you, she was phenomenal. Go to Spotify or wherever you get your freaking music and go look up Tash Sultana and let us know what you think next week.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Tash Sultana, baby.
All righty. Well, that completes this edition of the Philadelphia Sports Porch, which you can see now every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. You can follow us on YouTube at Philadelphia Sports Porch and on X. Thanks for being here at Philly Porch. Hit those follow buttons. Hit those notification buttons. You'll know when we go on live. I'm the technical director for Rube at ATX, the pilot, the Grand Schwabini in Indiana Township. I'm out. We'll see you next week.